Hi everyone, Ollie here, and this is the 10th edition of Olly Ranks, where I will be ranking season 10 of Classic Doctor Who. So, season 10 is John Pertwee's fourth season, and with this, he surpasses William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton's for the greatest number of seasons as the Doctor. As Hartnell left very early in his fourth season, and only Troughton only did three. Also, the Doctor's exile has ended, so the Doctor now has the freedom of traveling anywhere in space and time. If you're not familiar with how this works, I will be ranking all five stories from my least favorite to my favorite story of the season, and I'll be explaining my reason for the ranking. So to kick things off, in fifth place is Planet of the Daleks. I wouldn't say it's like my least favorite story ever, but it's still enjoyable. And it's also the second part of the Dalek War duology. It's a good story, but as I mentioned before, the plot is very similar to the Daleks, and the Daleks themselves look brilliant, and they were rather threatening compared to other Dalek stories. And they looked more threatening, considering the fact they had more than three Daleks on set, as they did in Day of the Daleks. And I also like the callbacks to previous Dalek stories in the 60s, and such as the mention of the first Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Susan, and plus the jungle sounds that were used in the Dalek stories from that era. The acting was great. I liked the side characters. Most of them were thous, but it was all about quality over quantity, so I gave that story an 8 out of 10. In fourth place is The Carnival of Monsters. It's a good story, a very fun story that holds nothing back in sneaking some shots to people like Mary Whitehouse. The production of the story was good, the plot was alright, the special effects were good, especially the hand grabbing the TARDIS from the miniscope and the Drashics. The acting was great, but I do wish the story was a bit more serious. It was a very light-hearted story, and I liked that, but I wish there was some elements of seriousness in there. Kalik was a villain with a dangerous ambition, but the mood of the story kind of ruined his character, and I gave that story an 8 out of 10 as well. Place is The Frontier in Space. The first part of the Dalek War duology, and I really enjoyed the story. The detention story was very well done, basic plot, but the acting really made it better. The direction was great also, and I really liked the sets and the world building aspect of the story. This was also Roger Delgado's final story as the Master, as Delgado unfortunately passes away in a car accident in Turkey 3 months after the story aired. And he did a fantastic job as the Master. The side characters were very unique. I liked how the Ogrons actually got some development, even though they were working for the Master, who was actually working with the Daleks. It was a nice plot twist to feature the Daleks at the end of this story. But even though it was just they just showed up and left before the end of the story, anyways, and I do feel the plot really ended quite quickly, even though it was pretty much needed to jumpstart Planet of the Daleks. But the acting was good. John Pertwee was great. Katie Manning as Jo, she was amazing. She did some very good scenes, and I really liked the scene with her and the Master when the Master was trying to like hypnotize her, but Jo was actually trying to fight back, and that was very good as for Jo as well. And I gave that story a 9.5 out of 10. In second place is The Three Doctors. An amazing story, an amazing way to kick off the 10th anniversary of Doctor Who. The plot is incredible, and I liked how the plot gave reason to bring back the first and second Doctors. The acting was very good as well, and I really liked the bickering between the second and third Doctors. It was very entertaining, and I loved the scene where the two meet for the first time, and they immediately start bickering. William Hung did a very good job from what he was given. Despite his illness debilitating him, he was still able to at least show up in Ealing Studios, and he was reading his lines off a cue card. And they appeared in the TARDIS scanner scenes, plus I think he appeared in the screen and Gallifrey as well. I like how the Brigadier and Benton were used and how they were factored into the story other than just being relegated to the background. Omega was a brilliant villain, and he was very intimidating as well. And considering the fact that his willpower was actually keeping him alive and there was no thing physical alive in him, that actually made the story quite scary. Yeah, and also the Doctor's exile comes to an end in that story as well, so hooray! The Doctor can now travel anywhere in space or time without having to do any work for the Time Lords, for now at least. So I give the Three Doctors a 10 out of 10. And in first place is The Green Death. Woo! Another fantastic story filled with great ideas, great moments, and emotional elements done to a T. Well, I don't know what the saying is. The plot was amazing, and I liked how the anti-pollution message the story had. It wasn't forced in, wasn't really forced compared to some of the newer stories. The acting was incredible, especially between John Pertwee and Katie Manning, and this story, in my eyes, was the strongest that they showed the bond between the Doctor and Joe. And I love how Joe pretty much comes into her own in the story, and she was really able to go to Lam Fairfax by herself, while the Brigadier drove her, while the Doctor went to Metropolis free. The villains were great, especially Bond. The giant maggots were impressive. They pretty much made this story great. The side characters were awesome, especially Clifford Jones, and Joe's departure was very emotional and very well acted and very well handled, and it was a nice way to wrap up Joe's character, and it was a great thing she came back in the Sarah Jane Adventures, so I give The Green Death a 10 out of 10 as well. So to conclude this, season 10 is actually my favourite John Pertwee season, and pretty much has everything I want in the Doctor Who season. Great stories, great villains, and good world building, a great companion departure, and so forth. It's a big step up from season 9, and I gave season 10 an A+. So my next set of reviews will be John Pertwee's final season, season 11, and kicking off the debut story, The Time Warrior, and that story includes the debut of the iconic villains in the Sontarans, and the debut of one of the most influential, if not the most influential, of the Doctor's companions, Miss Sarah Jane Smith, and that means with season 11 we're very close to the Tom Baker era now. So thank you for watching this. Please let me know your thoughts of season 10, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and join my Discord server if you haven't done so already. Until then, see you later.